Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe, entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Rob is known for being disruptive. He has held 3 world records for public speaking, authored 9 books, including a bestseller, Life Leverage. Rob founded and co-owns the UK's largest and most disruptive property education business and manages over 750 properties with his partner. Welcome to the Industry Angel, Rob Moore.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone. It's very kind of you to have me on your show.
No bother at all. How was that introduction for you? Is that you? Does that sound good?
Hey, look, if you're happy with it, I'm happy with it. It was accurate. I think we co-own and manage 850 properties now. We have a letting agency, and Mark and I have a property business. We're doing a 100-unit development at the moment, a big project for us. And we've got another big one that we're just finishing planning on. Yeah, life is life.
Is that just down your neck of the woods, Rob? Obviously, I'm here in the Northeast. Do you only predominantly do that work around Peterborough way where you are, or?
Yeah, I really believe that you've got to be local when it comes to investing and building and managing your property portfolio. I'm not saying it can't be done remotely, but you have to have really good contacts and people you trust up there. And that's not always easy to build. But yeah, I just went for a walk. I only went for a 20-minute walk doing a lap. And I passed a good, well, if I count the units up, 3,500, maybe 45, probably passed over 200 units of mine. So you can manage them when they're that close.
Yeah. You're a fan of walking because you've been doing your walks, you've been doing your calls. We had a call a few weeks ago. We had 15-minute calls with everybody, and you've been, in terms of the exercise, and I know you're training your back garden as well, but why all the walking? Why are you doing all this walking?
One, because in the lockdown, it's not really much else you can do. 2, because when I talk to people on the phone, I can't sit still. And I tried to use the lockdown as a way to talk to more people, extend the contacts, relationships, partnerships, talk to a lot of business owners and get their ideas and share best practices as the lockdown challenged a lot of people. Because I'm quite impatient. I am a fidgeter and I get restless if I can't change things quickly. So going out and doing walks is really good. And it's good exercise. When the lockdown started, for the first few weeks, I was working a lot to try and reinvent ourselves, and I ate most of the world, and I put on a few kilos, but I've lost 7+ kilos in not very long, and I think 2-3 hour walks every day probably helps.
I think a kilogram was the beard. I was the same as you. You've got the lockdown beard going on. Yeah. I think, is that you sporting a McQueen shirt as well, making me look bad?
Oh, look, it's not about comparing ourselves, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of McQueen. If I could only wear one brand of clothing, it would be McQueen. There's a big story in McQueen and his life and his legacy, which I really relate to.
So we're kind of dove straight in there about lockdown and things like that. So I think there's been lots of innovation during this period. People have been, dare I say, pivoting. It's a bit of a cliche word, but in terms of innovation, what's been sort of, I'm going to dive straight into the questions, Rob. I know you're quite structured with questions. You like questions. You like being structured when you're doing this. So I'm going to go straight in. What's been your biggest business accomplishment this year?
Well, I think reacting to the lockdown quickly and creating probably 12 online courses in as many weeks, and not quite halving our turnover or being forced to because of the lockdown, but our turnover probably went down by 40%. We got our overheads down by 60%, and our profits are probably up 250%. So, that I'm not proud of that achievement. I'm grateful to have made that achievement. I'm not bragging. You asked me about the achievement, and it didn't come out without its challenges or its costs. But, that's obviously been the main focus of the last 16 weeks, the few weeks before, when you went from denial to reality, and then how quickly can you reinvent yourself as you face a real threat in the unknown. I've just spent a lot more time doing more content, doing more calls for my clients and followers and fans. And I've probably increased the amount of value and help I've given to a lot of people. So they're the probably two of the accomplishments that you might perceive are the best in the lockdown.
It's interesting. I did an exercise yesterday with a client. What we found is a lot of clients have been a lot more profitable over these last few months. The operating costs have gone down, they've furloughed staff, and they've become, some of the highest profits they've ever had. And it's a bit of a strange kind of, yin and yang about this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always an upside. You just got to find it. I suppose wisdom is knowing what the upside and the downside is, and what the downside is in when you're only perceiving upside. So, I mean, obviously, we're all aware of the downsides. Retail's been massively hit. Most companies' turnovers have gone down, even if their profits are okay. So growth is slow. But yeah, I guess, look, fear can be useful. And, I'm happy to admit that once I got over the delusion that we're not all going to be quarantined for months, which obviously happened, I thought, this could be the biggest challenge I've ever had in business in 15 years. That's scary. I don't want to lose what I've built. So I better work relentlessly and tirelessly to figure out the solution, but also the new opportunity. And that fear drove me to get up at 3 a.m. For the first couple of weeks, I was up at 3 a.m., then 4 a.m., working through till 9 p.m., which for me is a long day and it's late. And then I got back into a normal routine of me being more like 5 a.m. But that fear for me, after a few weeks, soon turned into opportunity. And I wouldn't say excitement, because don't get me wrong, a lot of people have struggled in the lockdown, and I'm not excited by that. I feel for people who've struggled, but I also know we all have the same opportunity to spot opportunity. And we all have an opportunity to choose a new business model, or disrupt or change or pivot our business model, or create new products or services. And I realized not long into the lockdown, actually, this could be a huge opportunity, and it could be a divisive opportunity, like those that lose are going to lose big, and those that win are going to win big. And try not to remember in all this value proposition. So offering extra value, we were offering our clients extra value, extra service. We're giving them months of support for free, extended their programs, giving them even more value in our online programs. So not forgetting, the ultimate role or purpose of a company is to serve.
How important do you think it is to have a heads up on this, Rob? I mean, we couldn't see this coming, right? But you wrote the book Money, and in that book, there's lots of talk about recession. And I think a lot of us maybe have had our eggs in the basket and really plumb down our core business. Should we always be looking to bring in new value propositions, new revenue streams into business to avoid being caught out like this? Yes
and no. If you're trying to bring in 15 revenue streams at the same time, you're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to get really good at any of them because you're spread too thin. You're taking too many opportunities. But if you only have one business model, like massive retail shops and no online, or video shops and no online streaming, or traditional photography and no digital photography, then you could get evolved out of the human race. So it's that balance between having enough plan B, plan C, and enough income streams such that if one of your business models took a hit, you could pivot, convert, or rely on other income streams, but not so many that you diversify your focus. But what you can do is build an income stream, a business model, and then get management in, an MD, or get systems and processes and automation. And then you could just start moving some of your time into an additional income stream and then repeat that process over and over. So Mark and I have single-let, multi-let, and commercial conversion property projects. We have a property training business, a business training company, have quite a lot of online social media revenue, ad revenue, book revenue, etc. So you can create multiple streams of income over time.
It's interesting, Bob, because you're talking a lot about the past and you and Mark and the properties. And I guess you could never have looked back them years ago and thought this is where you'd be right now in terms of, let's just say it is what it is. You've got a brand now. You've got a personal brand, a Rob Moore brand with the podcast and with the social stuff and the following that you have. Was that ever a plan?
A personal brand, no, because I don't know if it existed 15 years ago. And if it did, I didn't know what it was. I loved property when I got into it. And of course, I did have designs for scale, or you could call it delusions of grandeur. I definitely did have some of that. So I did hope that I could scale and grow and we could be successful. But no, as I look back now, there's some things I've done which I probably didn't predict. There's some things I've done that are better than I predicted. I've made some mistakes, of course, along the way. And as I look back, I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've had and what I've achieved, and trying to focus on how many people I've helped, not just the accolades that I've got. Onto the question of the personal brand. I like variety. I like evolving. I like seeing a market change and looking at the opportunity and trying to spot it before my competitors, and playing with the new tools and functions and features on social media, like the supporter program, the stars feature, the paid live events. For me, that's just fun. It gives you variety. It's like bobbing and weaving and sparring and dancing around and staying agile. That just excites me. That's what entrepreneurship is about. And I don't mind being the crash test dummy. I don't mind someone else sending me in to test it first, even if it's going to go wrong. My business partner loves doing that. I'll get Rob to go and do that. Let's test it on him. And I actually quite like being that guy. So my personal brand has just really developed from consistency over time, and maybe taking opportunity and testing new things, and maybe not too much fearing failure, and understanding that you can't succeed your way to success. You have to fail your way to success. So what I've tried to do is fail often, fail fast, and fail small. Now, I've probably had some bigger failures than others, but most of my failures have been fast, often, and small.
You touched upon there about learning, Rob, and I think last time we spoke a few weeks ago, I was talking about masterminds and wanting to grow my mastermind, and I'm a big fan of mentorship, and I know you are as well. Why would you say that the mastermind route is a good route for people to take?
Well, the concept of a mastermind is a collated mastermind where there are 12 minds or 20 minds instead of one mind. So the sum of the 12 or 20 minds is greater than the one mind. And so basically you're standing on the shoulders of giants and leveraging the experience of others, and where others have blazed a trail, you can get their wisdom, experience, their knowledge, the mistakes that they've made. They can support you, guide you, protect you, save you time, and save you money. Why would you reinvent the wheel?
You're right. And what I say you do, I mean, actually, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, because your wheel is much different lately, because you've been interviewing billionaires, which are a different animal altogether, really. But, what's your interest in millionaires? Why have you started interviewing, people like Grant Cardone?
From the age of 25 years and 11 months, I've been fascinated by money, and I've tried to get better knowledge around money, and obviously tried to retain as much wealth for myself and create wealth for my community. And really, I've learned that the more you learn, the better chance you've got of mastering something. The more you learn, the more you earn, for example. So to that end, I've studied billionaires, multimillionaires, 100 millionaires, people who are worth 500 million, 5 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion, whatever. But of course, those billionaires were quite out of reach in my early years of business. I did actually get to know one quite well, and that was really good. Andreas Paniotto is a really great guy, and he's done really well. But then when I started my podcast, I seemed to get access to a lot more 100 millionaires, half billionaires, and billionaires. And why do I want to interview them? Because there's probably something about money we can all learn from someone who's made a lot more than ourselves, or a lot more than my podcast followers, for example. And standing on the shoulders of giants. Well, if you want to make more money, a billionaire can teach you that. For me, it's not just about the fact that the billionaires made money. And this is really important, and I think people should write this down. Who has the billionaire had to become to be and retain a net worth of over $1 billion? What have you had to learn? What sacrifices have you had to make? That is fascinating, because they know stuff that 100 millionaires or decamillionaires do not. I've become good friends with people like Grant Cardone, so I've made a lot of good friends along the way. But I don't just interview billionaires. I think we've got our 8th or 9th coming up soon, and we've got a couple more booked in. I interview the most famous actress in Game of Thrones. I interviewed some of the best sports personalities, the most successful, most accolade-laden sports personalities in the world, the most controversial people in the world. I like to interview a variety of people because I think a diverse range of inspiration and knowledge and experience gives you that unique outlook when you are trying to grow your business and not just copying your competitors.
I totally agree, and I do the same, Rob. I call this a diverse business podcast, and I've interviewed, adventurers, Everest summiters and MPs and poets and bodybuilders. I know you've interviewed Dorian. I've interviewed Rick Drazen, who was Arnie's training partner, and it's amazing when you go through their lives and through their journeys. You can pick up so much. We always learn so much from stories. When you've been talking to some of these diverse people, what stories have stuck out to you? Is there anything you remember where that person told a story and you just thought, wow, I learned something through a story?
Yep. The thing that stuck out the most is Katie Hopkins lost her house and had to sell her house because she got sued for something she posted online, essentially. And I remember her saying that she knew it was coming and she did it anyway. And I remember being fascinated by that because she knew the risk she was taking and she knew the jeopardy perhaps she was putting her family and her children in, but she made the remarks that she did. And that's just, when I've interviewed over 100 guests, and that stuck in my mind as I don't know what I think about it. Is it stubborn? Is it too risky? What were the upsides to that? Obviously, social media can be your friend and your enemy, can't it? She had massive Twitter following and then she got banned. I mean, look, there's been hundreds of great stories, lots of regular themes. Always do more than the job you're paid to do. That's come up from billionaires. Always do more than the job you're paid to do. What do most people want to do? They want to do the job they're paid to do. They don't want to do any more. But if you want to grow and be successful, you don't just do the job you're paid to do. You do a little bit more. If your job is to go and clear the garden, you do the front as well as the back, even you're only paid for the back, and then you're going to get more work. And if you want to grow your career, you don't just do the job you're paid to do. You do the job that's the next level up. You add more value. That's come up a lot. That's taught by mafia bosses, by the way, as well as one of the billionaires I interviewed. He said a mafia boss taught him that. So it was quite interesting.
Do you think there's any common traits? I mean, those were stories and those were some of the things they do. What about common traits? You touched upon risk, then obviously your strapline, Rob. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. Is risk some of the common traits? And if so, are there calculated risks? Are there gut feeling risks? What do you think?
Okay, so common traits of billionaires, and billionaires specifically, not millionaires. It would be vast scale. Mm-hmm. It would be leveraging a network effect business model. Like if you look at over history, the people who've got the most wealthy are the people who have been able to connect the globe the quickest, whether through steel and rail or telecommunications or the internet or social media. They have a significant feeling of deserving wealth, opulence and riches on a vast scale, because there's just so many people on the planet that would just never feel like they would deserve that much money. That would seem too greedy or too, how can one person have that much money? But they understand also the true nature of money. They understand that it's not greed or power or control or philanthropy or good or bad or right or wrong. They understand it's a universal exchange of value. And if they create value on a global scale or an intergalactic scale, as some people are doing now, then they'll get handsomely rewarded for it. You definitely have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to withstand extreme opposition. Some people have died for, their work and their art. If you think about Uber, extreme opposition. And the original founder of Uber, it almost seemed like he liked extreme opposition. And you can't become a billionaire without extreme opposition. So there's 5 common traits of billionaires that, I've worked out from my study and research and getting to know many.
It's funny when you're interviewing Rob, because I know you like to probe for juicy details. I know the other day I think you tried to ask somebody what their net worth was, and it was a great response about I never showed Monopoly money. I think I always hid my Monopoly money. How can you get those juicy questions in without kind of upsetting the person?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, because I don't interview people to catch them out. And I want to get on well with my guest and maybe show a different side to them that maybe my listeners have not seen. And I want them to end and go, I really enjoyed that, and that was worth my time. And I can imagine a lot of very successful people are often trying to be caught out by the media or tripped up or misquoted. I know some very famous friends, and one in particular, Kevin Clifton, he just... they were just trying to catch him out all the time, and he was misquoted and hounded for a long, long time, and it was really unfair. And I don't want to be that guy. But My audience want me to ask the difficult question. They want me to take the risk. So I've got to balance the kind of interviewer that I want to be, because I want to make friends with a lot of these successful people like I have done. My audience want me to go deep and be cheeky, but I don't want to break rapport or have them feel like they were being tricked or misled. So I just try and take a cheeky approach. We even started doing a cheeky round as a test, and I put the net worth question in the cheeky round. So if they didn't like it, I can say, oh, well, look, we're just doing a cheeky round.
Have you been reading my notes?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I asked Jordan Belfort some very challenging questions, but my audience wanted me to do that. But at the same time, some people said, oh, there wasn't so much rapport there as your normal guests. So you can't go really deep on the questions and expect the same level of connection and rapport. So you've got to make a choice of what kind of interviewer you want to be, or what kind of podcaster, or who do you want to be, and what's your end goal. And my end goal is not to trick them or catch them out. My end goal is to hopefully develop a relationship with them, give them a really good exposure. And so I don't mind being a bit cheeky, and I don't mind having the odd slap, but I'm not going to go hard on them. That's just not my style.
So, we all pull our jeans on one leg at a time, Rob. Is there any times where you've been intimidated by these people? And I'm sure I heard you talk about when you met Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you talk about the height of him and how he dyes his hair, and you became, I think you thought like, he's just human, he's just a person.
Yeah, so when I met Arnold Schwarzenegger, because in my mind he was 6'10", and obviously he's huge. And when I met him, I guess he must have been in his mid-60s when I met him. He must be over 70 now. And yeah, he was quite a lot shorter than me. And, because I was quite a lot taller than him, when I put my arm around him and stuff and we talked, I could see that, he dyed his hair. And that's not me criticizing. Nothing wrong with dyeing your hair, and nothing wrong with not being as tall as someone thinks. But it just gave me a real sense that he's human like everyone else. Because people always say, who are your heroes? And for many years, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a hero of mine, because he's such a master of bodybuilding. I'm not into bodybuilding, but he mastered that. And then, of course, became a really famous actor and made loads of money. He got heavily into property. His books are brilliant. I love his brand. I just think I like his attitude. He's great on social media. Of course, he became the was it the governator? And then to get into politics, I just think, man, everything you touch turns to gold. But it just made me realize we're all human. And I probably pedestalized him in my mind. And in reality, I prefer to see people on a horizontal level, not a vertical level. So vertical is you look up or you look down, but horizontal is you're another human. And that was just a sort of a realization for me. Now, when I met Dorian Yates, he's very intimidating, or I got intimidated. I can't say he's intimidating. It might have been, he was quiet and his energy was strong. And I was probably quite I was inexperienced as an interviewer, even though I was very experienced speaker. And I do get nervous from time to time meeting my guests. I think that's a good thing. If I'm not nervous, they're not a big enough guest, or I'm not excited enough about it, or I don't want it. I'm not bothered enough about it that I'd want it to be great. So nothing wrong with a bit of nerves. But ultimately, we're all human beings. We're all different. You have skills that I don't. I have skills that you don't. And we all have a role and a function. And if you think about it, 10,000 years ago, the butcher didn't get paid 1,000 times more than the baker. And in a tribe where you've got your butcher, your baker, your ironmonger, your cobbler, and you've got your small tribe and your little community to survive, there was probably not even any payment system, and you were just exchanging your goods and services to each other to look after each other within the tribe. There was no hierarchy. Well, all right, there might have been one tribe leader maybe, but there was no, you get paid 100 times more than you, the billionaire and then the zeroaire. So I think humans aren't really born and designed to be such a disparity in you're better, you're worse, you're higher, you're lower. I pedestalize you, I subordinate to you, or vice versa. And I think we can get ourselves into a bit of hot water when we start pedestalizing people up, because we create idols. And, some people say never meet your idols. They say that because then you realize they're human and they're not your idol anymore. Your idols grow old. Your idols will die. Your idols are fallible. Your idols make mistakes. And that's human beings. And so when we put each other on this horizontal, that is horizontal that way, isn't it? Horizontal, yeah. So when you realize we're all human, I think it's we connect more. we're all comrades in a community as opposed to this sort of imbalanced hierarchy.
It's interesting. You say never meet your idols. There's somebody I follow on social and they've got a great personality. They come across really, really well. I was at a conference. I'm a speaker as well. I was in a conference. We were there and I was actually in a bar at the end of the evening. I went across, asked them if you want a drink, bought them a drink, and one of the most boringest people I've ever met.
You could have caught them on a bad day.
Yeah, of course, I suppose.
Maybe, they're just a little bit, it's quite common that people who are extrovert in one area of their life are introvert in another. But yeah, look, we're all equal, and it's difficult to maintain that because ego goes, no, they're better than me, or I'm not worthy, or ego goes, I'm better than them, they're not worthy. That's ego, and trying to transcend that. And a company needs the admin assistants as much as it needs the CEO or the founder. We all have a role, and just knowing your role and feeling good that you're good in your role, that's the best that you can do, and respect people for being good in their role.
Let's transition into that then, because obviously your company, it's grew quite a lot in terms of headcount. Do you still have your finger on the pulse, Robin, when it comes to HR issues, or do you layer staff and you don't really, you have a buffer between you and that, or do you still try to keep the culture and, keep a good level of conversation or one-to-one with staff?
So Sue is our head of HR. Sue, Katie and Catherine are very much involved in HR. So I don't have to be too much involved in HR. For me, it's just keeping the pulse on the strategic culture. Our brand values: progressive, innovative, personal, and then our internal values like a loyal team, ambitious, etc. So I just check in on those on a strategic level, and then our HR team take that culture and pass it all the way down.
Yeah. How do you find when you're growing a company though, when you can't bring those layers in of management that takes bits and pieces off you, and you've got to kind of spin a number of hats? What kind of things have you done to help with that massive draw of your time and your input into the business?
Well, really, the best thing you can do with your time is focused on your highest priorities that might move you towards your vision and values, living your values, moving towards your vision. So what are you meant to do with your life? For me, I'm meant to help as many people on this planet start and scale their business and get a better financial education. So anything that moves me towards that is a high priority. Anything that takes me away from that is a low priority. And then once I move towards my high priority, I've got to work out what the tasks are that I should delegate, delay, or delete. Delegation is an important part of priority, because if you have a priority, you need an anti-priority, a posteriority, as Brian Tracy calls it. So yeah, that's just managing. It's not managing time. You can't manage time because time is time. But what you can do is have a priority of highest value tasks that move you towards your vision and you live your values. And then you outsource, leverage, delay, delegate, or delete everything else.
What do you think about, so there'll be a lot of small business owners watching this now or watching it later on. What's your thoughts, Rob, about bootstrap or borrow?
So Mark and I bootstrapped. So we funded through cash flow and we didn't borrow. We might have lobbed a little bit of money here, there on a credit card that we paid off in a month or something like that. But we bought our furniture and computers. We didn't get them on hire purchase or lease. We didn't get any equity partners or borrow money. So we bootstrapped. And I think the advantage of bootstrapping is you retain more ownership and more control and more equity. The advantage of, getting a cash injection, whether it's debt or equity, is that you can grow faster. But how much do you dilute? And I know people who've grown really fast, but diluted a lot and lost control. So Mark and I have never really intended to dilute or lose control. Maybe the sacrifice of that has been we could have grown faster. But I mean, when I look back, I'm really happy with the speed of growth and I'm really grateful for my journey. There's no right or wrong answer. I think it also depends on your product. Like our product is information when it comes to our training businesses. So we don't need to develop IP or a license or an invention like Richard Dyson. How much money would he have needed to fund his research and development to get that technology. I mean, I think he invested about 20 million or got 20 million in debt, I believe. Sorry, James Dyson. I said Richard Dyson. I took Richard Branson and James Dyson and hybridized them. The Dyson vacuums. So, if you've got an invention that needs research and development and there's stock and capital expense, then of course you might need to raise money for that. Mark and I didn't need that because we didn't have any stock and we didn't have any, need for huge expense or legalities or setting up franchise agreements and lawyers and all that. So it depends on your business model as well, doesn't it?
It certainly doesn't. Let's take that into the foundation, Bob. Obviously, you've launched a foundation. What was the thoughts behind that? What do you want that to achieve? Is that a legacy?
Yeah. So if my personal vision is to help as many people on the planet start and scale their business and get a better financial education, my foundation wants to take that across the globe, and especially with young and underprivileged entrepreneurs who maybe need a bit of a break, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, or an apprenticeship or a mentor or some education or training or support or resources or books or information to people that could really do with a break. Because I help a lot of people who maybe aren't as underprivileged. So that's the vision of my foundation. And I thought a good time to launch it was when I wrote my book, Money, which was 2 to 3 years ago. And I wanted something to transcend myself. Legacy, yes, but I don't want it to be driven by ego. I want it to be driven by, the good it does. So I don't need my name on a building. I don't need a library or a hospital with my name on it. We only called it the Rob Moore Foundation is because we couldn't call it the Progressive Foundation. Otherwise, we'd have called it the Progressive Foundation. So I don't want it to be an ego play. And also, a lot of people are philanthropists in their mid-60s when they made billions. And I thought, why do I have to wait? Why can't I start doing that in my mid to late 30s just to sort of show some intention of willing while I'm making money, not after I've made all my money. Decades left in the tank.
Yeah, decades. We're a similar age, so we've got about another 70 years in us, no worries. Thinking about the next sort of part of the year, then, is there anything that you've got that you want to nail before the year's out? I know this year's really turned on its head, but was there something where you started this year and thought, I want to do this, but then it all turned around? Is there something else that you still want to do?
Well, we're trying to figure out when we can run physical events again, because we love the energy, the connections, the business partnerships and relationships done through live events. You just can't beat it, as much as I've embraced online events too. So we'd like to try and figure that out. Obviously, when many of our staff come out of furlough, we've got to sort of go to the end of the year and work out where we want to end up. What will our overhead get back to? How many of our staff are we going to bring back and when? What new roles might be created, etc. So there's that. The lockdown has actually helped us scale more globally, more quickly, because we've created more global courses, assets. So developing global relationships and partnerships to speed up our global growth. I would say they're probably 3 main corporate, if you like, or commercial aims that we have for the rest of the year.
Dean's just threw a great comment in there, Rob, about disabled entrepreneurs. And is there a place for that within the foundation? Is that a viewpoint?
Yes. I mean, look, I never stop anyone applying for anything in my foundation. So my foundation is called the Rob Moore Foundation. You can find it on my robmoore.com website. I did it's nearly finished, but I did a little thing where I've decided to give £3,000 to someone who we deemed, me and my mum's a trustee as well. And we're looking for other trustees, by the way. We just get giving away £3,000 to an entrepreneur with either an amazing story, a world-changing product, or just someone who really needs a break, who's maybe had, a challenged time and could really do with a break where that money could make a difference. But I let anyone apply. So, yeah, there's no one I'm ruling out. Now, when you have a charity, I was advised by someone who's got a much bigger charity than me, it's wise to not be everything to all people. That's why, we said ideally young and underprivileged. But also remember, the first half of that is to help as many people across the globe start and scale their business and get better financial education. And there's so many ways that can be done. That could be done digging up and putting cables and internet connections in the developing world. That could be apprenticeships, shadowing, masterminds, courses. could be grants. God, there's so many ways. And I'm not at the moment getting too specific on the one media and vehicle by which I deliver the foundation. We did a raise and gave 20 grand to the NHS in the lockdown, you know, when the clapping started, which I thought was a brilliant thing. And I thought that's a great thing my foundation could do. And just because it's not exactly according to the vision, it was a good thing that we could do at that time. So I want to give myself that freedom. So yeah, anyone, we can help, as long as, you know, you're enterprising, you're entrepreneurial, you know, you want to create change, you want to solve problems, you want to start and scale a business. Yeah.
Fantastic. Let me spin this a little bit then, Robbie. If you could change job roles with anybody, who would that person be? You're right on the spot there, aren't you? You talk a lot about change and making changes, and you're doing that yourself. But is anyone you see the way you think, yeah, that is a great role which I could take on? And
I think either Mohamed Salah or Justin Rose when he was world number one golfer, or a guitarist or lead singer for my favorite heavy metal band. I think they would be fun roles. I could take. And the reason I chose something completely not business is because I love Liverpool. I love heavy metal. But in terms of business and entrepreneurship, there's no one else I want to be. I just want to do the best I can do and find my own way where I can add the most amount of value and hopefully achieve some of my own goals and pleasures along the way.
Fantastic stuff. I love that. Well, listen, I've got a little quick fire round at the end. It's only a little small one. But before we do that, is there anything that I haven't asked you, Rob, that you might that I should have asked you?
Yeah, where to find my podcast.
We'll come to that. We'll come. Here's the right hook. Go on, get it out, Rob. Get it out.
The Disruptive Entrepreneur Podcast.
And it's really, really good.
There's no question you should have or shouldn't ask. They're yours. So
nice answer. Nice answer. Okay, then. Quick fire round, Rob, okay? Lambo or Ferrari?
Lamborghini if it's more modern, Ferrari if it's a classic.
Successful artist or successful in business?
Successful in business.
City break or beach holiday?
City break.
What are your 3 most used words or phrases? And I know one of them straight away, but carry on.
Start now, get perfect later. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. The one I've been saying a lot recently, which I think was Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn, is where focus goes, energy flows, and results show. That seems to have come up in a lot of my recent podcast interviews. So I'll say that one.
Let's have that again, Rob, slowly. Let me take that on board.
Where focus goes, energy flows, and results show.
Excellent. Love that. Fair enough. What would people be surprised about if they knew? Is your wife watching?
Yeah. I nearly died twice. I had a nasty motorbike crash and I had peritonitis. Peritonitis, which is a burst appendix, which nearly killed me. There you go.
Oh, well, didn't know that. There you go. This chap here has lined you right up here, Rob. Right. Knock it down.
Have you written any books? I've written 16, whether I've either ghosted, or written myself, and I've got 17, 18, and 19 in edit at the moment. And Money is probably my pound for pound bestseller, but Life Leverage is probably my total bestseller.
Money was really interesting. Just before we go, I'll leave you this. Money was a really interesting read because it can be quite a dirty word to some. You know, quite often people say, well, you don't need money, you want to be happiness. And doesn't mean money can, the book can really change the way people think and feel about money.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. So listen, before we go, do you want to leave us with your strap line?
Yeah. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything.
Thanks so much, Rob. It's been amazing. And I really appreciate your time.